Hello and welcome back to another tutorial using Visual Studio Code. Now in this tutorial I'm going to continue with where we were in the last tutorial, and what we did is we created a box and we also added a style sheet so that we could colour in the box. So it looked a little bit like this. Very exciting. Okay, so what we're going to do today is I'm going to show you how to add an image to your box or to your web page in general. Now what you'll see here is I've got my Explorer open. If you can't see it, again, just click that little icon. And what I've just done is I've created an images folder. Now I'd like you to do the same, and what you need to do is just click this little one here, which says new folder, and you can just name this anything that will help you remember where your images are. Generally, images is a good shout. And then all I've done is I've just added an image to my folder. Okay, so it's pretty easy to do. You just need to make sure that you've got a nice file set up. So it should just look a little bit like this. I'm just going to drag mine in so you can see what it looks like. This is my file setup called the folder website tutorials or tuts. I've got my index page, my styles. This is my images folder, and notice I've used a little I or a lowercase I because I want to make it easier for myself when I'm looking for it. So if I double click, you'll see that the image is in there. Okay, so all we want to do is add one line of code. So once you've got your image in your image folder, we can start. So for the moment, I'm going to do this underneath the box that we've got there to show you what it looks like outside. So what we want to do is use a little open triangle bracket and just type in IMG. Press enter, space, and then you want SRC. And here, again, if you just press enter, you'll see it creates these little add-ins for you to make it a bit easier for you. Now, if your images are correctly in the folder, then what you want to do is just type in the name of that folder correctly and just do a slash. And if you've done this correctly, it should come up with the name of the file just below. And then what I tend to do is I add Alt, press enter again, and just do a brief description of what that image is. So this is generally to make it easier for people if they can't quite clearly see the image, just to showcase what it is. I just put something quite simple like that for the moment, say the letter K, very exciting, and we'll see if that worked. So I'm just going to close that for the moment. Now remember, it's really important that you do close it, otherwise it will not work. So I'm just going to do Control S on Windows to save it, or remember you can go File and Save, but Control S is much quicker. And I'm just going to have a look in my browser and see if that worked. So here's my box from before, and there is my giant image. Okay, so now you might think that image looks a little big. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a height and width to it. Now, you may be thinking, oh, she's going to do that in the style sheet. Wrong, I'm going to do it directly in here because it's just a specific image that I want to change the size of. So inside the little triangle there, I'm just going to add in one more line. Style. Again, I'm just going to press enter so it kind of fills those in for me. I'm just going to put width. Press enter again. And I might put 500 pixels, so px. I'm going to come after the semicolon there, and I'm just going to type in height and 500 pixels again, like so. Okay, so you should see it will say, it will have the name of the image there, a description of what the image is, and then we've got width, and the width, the height, and the actual height in pixels there. So I'm just going to click Control S again, and you'll see it's made the image smaller. Okay, now obviously it depends on the type of image you want. You'll just want to make sure that you keep it in dimension, so keep the ratio correct to what you originally had. because otherwise you don't want your image to be squashed. So quite often I use programs like Photoshop to be able to get the ratio exactly. So if you want the image smaller there, you can do so. Okay, so what I'm just going to do is show you how to put this image in the box, and it's really simple. And I often see many students say cut or they copy their code. Now, what I absolutely love with Visual Studio Code, if you could just highlight the text you want to move. Once it's highlighted, you can click it again and you'll see it allows you to kind of move it across the page. Yeah, I need to tidy it up a bit, but that's a little bit quicker than having to copy and paste that across. So yeah, so if I click save now, Control S, and go to my browser now. So remember, we just got the empty box from last time, then the image below. Just refresh, and you can see the image is now in the box. Okay, so what you may have noticed is that the picture is still quite big inside of the box, but actually the size is not too bad. So what I'm going to show you is just quickly how to, if you have this issue, is how you can make sure that the content actually fits inside of the box. So I'm just going to hide that, and what we're going to do is let's go to our style sheet here. So these are the styles that we did in the last tutorial, and you can see that we've got the height and the width there. Now I'm just going to change this height to auto, like so. I'm just going to Control S to make sure we save it. And now you can see that the box will change to the size of whatever content is in there. Now, obviously it depends on the type of site that you're making. Generally, there'll be quite a structured web design that you'd be working from, but sometimes, especially when you're practicing, you might just go a bit more freestyle. But creating an auto to your box means that no matter what class you use on your pages, it will always go to the size of the content in your screen, which is really useful. The only time it doesn't work is if you've got something with 3 columns and you have all 3 different sizes. But we'll look at that in the future. But for now, well done. Hopefully that's worked for you, and hopefully you've got a nice shiny image inside of your box. So I'm just going to show you one more thing before we go, and that is to move the image across the box. Okay, and what we want to do, we'll try with something called padding. So still in the styles page, we want to type in padding dash left. Okay, so padding is the inside of the box, and there's something called a margin, which is the outside of the box. So I'll show you what this padding left does. So we're going to go for something quite bold. We're going to go for 50%. I'm just going to save that again. And let's see what that did. Okay, so there you go. You can see that we've added half of the 100% for the image. So the image has actually moved across 50%. Obviously, that's quite a lot, and you probably wouldn't actually need to do that in your site. You never know. But obviously that will do that to all the content inside of that box there. So you'd need to be more specific to the actual individual items that you put in there. The other thing that you can do, I'm just going to go back and I'm just going to change that to 5%. There's also something called margin. And I'm just going to show you. You can go select, you can go top, left, bottom or right, but if you don't put any, it will apply to all. So I'm just going to go margin and I'm just going to put, okay, let's try 5% and save. Okay, and let's see what that does. Okay, so this is our 5% of our padding. Okay, so remember we moved it from 50% to 5%. So you can see it kind of just creates a bit of a border on the outside. But you'll also notice that the top of the whole box has come down slightly, as well as on the bottom. Okay, Now it probably didn't do it to the sides because we've got our sides to 100%, so it looks slightly different, but there is a gap there. If you can see, if you zoom out, you will see a gap there. Okay, so generally with the padding and margin, you just need to practice with it. So have a go, see what kind of things you can move across the page, and make sure, you can always take screenshots of what works well for you. So have some fun, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.